results. Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin is lamenting the major casualties recorded in the NPP parliamentary primaries. 28 sitting NPP MPs couldn't secure their seats, whilst 19 of them announced their retirement from the House. Parliament returned on Tuesday with significant changes in terms of how business will be conducted in the legislature. The Finance Committee has been split into 3 separate committees, while MPs are now required to recite the National Pledge once a week. In his welcome address to MPs, Speaker Alban Bagbin expressed worry over the 45 MPs who lost their primaries and those who are voluntarily exiting, adding the nation must reflect on the huge investments made in those MPs who will be exiting the House. Parliamentary correspondent Kwekwa Sante has the rest of the story.
Month on break, MPs are back in the House to do business, but there are now significant changes to how business will be done on the floor of the House. Starting from this meeting, MPs will be required to recite the National Pledge once every week. That is at the start of the week, and today, MPs had to recite that pledge.
Congratulations. Honorable members, congratulations. Honorable members.
Also, at the start of every particular sitting, there will be a roll call of MPs. And MPs will be required to stand in their seat and be recognized. That is part of the measures the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, is taking to ensure that there is maximum attendance in the House. Today, of course, there was some confusion in terms of how exactly that process will pan out. This is how it all went down on the floor.
Asensu Boachi Francis, Esiama Isaac Kwame.
You indicated that when your name is called, when the roll is being called and your name is mentioned, we should respond and not stand and wave. So if you could guide us, do we stand and respond, present, Mr. Speaker?
If you later come and you sign, you'll be recorded as having been present. But the biggest essence is accounting to the public, which all of us are supposed to. So if at the beginning of the day, Muntaka is called and is not there, what I simply tell as one people is that he's perpetual latecomer into the chamber.
But with MPs back now to do some really good business, they could not gloss over the important matter of the number of NPP MPs who have been defeated in the just ended primaries. 28 of them lost their primaries, with about 18 also signaling their intention not to return. That is about 46 NPP MPs that will not be returning to Parliament in 2025, as well as some NDC MPs who also lost their primaries and those who have decided to bow out. The Speaker of Parliament first worded it in terms of how this attrition will affect Parliament.
We woke up one Saturday, and by the evening, we had lost 28 MPs through the primaries of the New Patriotic Party. Earlier last year, we lost 17 MPs through the primaries of the NDC, National Democratic Congress. It's not a good signal for the legislature and for Ghana's democratic development.
We also caught up with the NDC Deputy Minority Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim, who spoke about how there was an alleged scheme at the office of the president to oust some NPP MPs.
The number that we're going to lose were 30. That was the estimation from my calculation, if you remember. So you could see that the last house was after them. And we knew once the big house is after you, there's no way you are going to contest. You are going to make it. So clearly you could see that the system was ready to ask some of the people out. And I'm not surprised. The number, our estimation, it was 30.
We also heard then from the majority leader, H.A. Mensah Bonsu, who spoke about political parties and what they must do to their internal rules to ensure that sitting MPs, especially those with so much experience, are protected.
It is unfortunate to relate that Ghana's parliament now is in the league of only 3 parliaments in the world which have the highest attrition rates globally. And this is not helping the growth and development of our democracy. I've often made appeals to the 2 leading political parties in the country, the New Patriotic Party, which is my own party, and the National Democratic Congress, to introspect on their respective constitutions.
So, a number of key changes now in Parliament. For instance, the all-powerful Finance Committee has been broken down into 3. The Finance Committee, the Committee on Planning, the Committee on the Economy, also the Appointments Committee will still be chaired by the Deputy Speaker, but of course, they will co-opt members of other committees depending on the work that they are going to be doing. In the coming weeks and in the coming days, we'll be rolling out a series of the changes that are now embodied in the new standing orders of the House. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Well, let's have a conversation on the changes in Parliament. Kweku Asante is our correspondent in Parliament. He is joining us with a list of changes, and Samuel Bing will also join us. Let's start with you, Kweku Asante. Run us through the changes that has been affected.
So, Aisha, like you heard there at the end of the report, a few of the major changes have to do with how the committees are composed in the House. So, for instance, a number of the committees used to have 20, 25 members. When what we are seeing now, the ceiling of most of these committees will be 13. In fact, the Appointment Committee used to be, I think, 22. It will now be made up of 13 MPs. That is the first Deputy Speaker chairing, and then the leadership on both sides of the House, and then co-opting members from other places. So, for instance, if the Appointment Committee meets over judges, then they will get some members from the Judiciary Committee to come and join them to vet those judges. If they have to vet, say, the Minister for Education, they will co-opt members from the Education Committee to join them to do that. Those are the changes that have come in, and it is to reflect on how things are done in the advanced democracies like the US, for instance, where the Judiciary Committee will vet judges, the Committee on Health will vet appointment to the Health Ministry and other places. These are the modern times the Parliament of Ghana wants to go to. There used to be the Defense and Interior Committee charged with looking at the defense of the country, the Interior Ministry, the National Security Ministry, and all that. That is also no more because it has been whittled down, and now we have a new committee on the Committee of Intelligence. Again, those who follow international politics, not in the US, we have the Committee on Intelligence who deal with the national security situation of the country. So we are going to have that also in the Parliament of Ghana. The Finance Committee, very powerful Finance Committee that used to deal with matters of finance, taxes, everything related to finance and economy always went to the Finance Committee of the House. But that is set to change because the Finance Committee has been broken down into 3. The Finance Committee itself will still stay, but of course the responsibilities will now be reduced. There will be a committee on the economy to look at the economic issues that will come before the House, and then there will be a committee on planning to reflect Parliament's position on the need for the country to stick to a development plan going forward. And of course, some of the minor changes that have also come up, also quite significant, is that MPs are going to sing the national pledge every week. So the first sitting of the week, they are going to sing it. Yesterday they did. Next week, Tuesday, they will. If they have to sit on a Monday, they will sing that also. And then at the end of the week also, they will also sing that. And then there will be roll call. We know the matters of absenteeism that have been going on in Parliament for a long time. The Speaker of Parliament says Parliament must send out a signal to the people that they are really keen on doing their business in the House. And that would mean every morning there will be a roll call. MPs would have to get up in their seat and be counted. And so if your constituents are watching and they realize that you don't always come to the chamber very early, then you have some issues to deal with in the constituency. So Aisha, that's a rundown of the significant changes that have been made. It's a total overhaul. If you look at the standing orders of the House, almost everything has been changed. The arrangements and everything has been changed. It will take some time. And now someone made a joke on the House that depending on whether you've been in the House for 20 years or even a first timer, you all get to start on a clean slate now, Aisha.
Let's bring in Sami Obing, who's been doing a lot of work on parliamentary work. Sami, what do these changes mean to the work of Parliament?
Well, Many of them would transform quite greatly the work that Parliament needs to do. Remember that the standing orders which were revised to have these new ones have been in place since the year 2000. And so for 23 years, Parliament has been practicing in a particular way. So many things have changed over the almost 24 years period, including, of course, having the experience of an 8th Parliament which is hanged. And so they needed to incorporate all of these changes, all of these new learnings, global best practices into the scheme of things. And to be able to do that, you needed to find expression in the standing orders. And so I am particularly excited about the fact that sittings of committees will be open to the public, just like plenary, unless for some specific reason the leadership of that particular committee decides to keep it closed, just like sometimes it is in the case of plenary. I'm excited about the fact that committees have been realigned, new committees have been introduced, a number of members on the committees are relatively smaller, so that members of Parliament can serve specifically in areas of their core competencies and strengths. I am particularly excited about the fact that we would have a situation where committees will all not be chaired, almost all committees will not be chaired by the party that is in government, and that some very significant committees will be chaired by members who are not whose party is not in government, and we'll be seeing the positive effects like we are seeing in the Public Accounts Committee and co, which are not chaired by members of the ruling party. And so these and many others, has potential to, make our parliament relatively better, more accountable, transparent, and citizens inclusive in the way that it works, which goes to the tenets of open parliament, which is one of the very important global conversations that are being had around parliament-related matters. How well Parliament implements these to be able to glean all of the benefits of same is left to be seen.
For someone who is not privy to the work of Parliament, the question will then be, what mischief will it cure, or how will these changes impact positively on the work of Parliament?
So let's use an example of the committees being open to the citizens. Sometimes when Parliament is sitting at plenary, people will say they are committees, and sometimes even at a committee, there's a heated issue. You interview the NPC MP on the same committee and he will say X. You interview the MPP MP on that same committee and he will say Y. Sometimes even the leadership ranking member is saying something different, committee chair is saying something different. That is going to change because we will know what's going on in that particular committee. The media will be there. I'm sure Parliament will have multiple channels via their social media and other platforms to be able to stream these things. So we as citizens who send members there will be able to know exactly the work they are doing for and on our behalf. We will know members of Parliament who are putting a lot of work into plenary work and committee work, and those who are just lazying about so far as the parliamentary work is concerned. This could be one of the areas in which we can have a very positive game change. So it could serve as one of the areas where an error or mischief can be rectified. The other one is a bit about, let's take the appointments committee or how ministers and other nominees are vetted. In the past, you expect that that particular appointments committee has members who understand from archaeology to zoology, and so they are vetting a sports minister today, and tomorrow they are vetting a Supreme Court judge, and so they are supposed to know about the laws and what have you. But now we are having people who are supposed to be subject matter experts, being those that are seated to be able to vet the particular nominee who is going into that subject area. And I think that should bring more robust conversation around how that particular sector can be transformed.
Being as Executive Director of Parliamentary Network Africa, grateful for your time. Kwekwa Sante also gave us a list of the changes. Going forward, we'll be monitoring how this impacts on the work of Parliament. Trust JoyNews. We'll be bringing you all of that.